Hello chaps and chapettes. Now today we're looking at something called a circuit breaker, and this is following on from the fuse video we did before. Now by the end of this video you're going to know what a circuit breaker is, you're going to understand how it activates, and you should be able to draw a diagram of the circuit breaker as well. The challenge today is to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of a circuit breaker, and throughout the video I'll be giving you little hints as to how that's done. So first of all, what is a circuit breaker? Well, it breaks circuits. And it does this by activating when a surge of high current goes through the device itself. So it protects the circuit by actually breaking it apart. So there are two contacts inside the circuit breaker which will split apart and, well, break the connection, which means that there can't be any current flow, so the circuit deactivates. The great thing about circuit breakers is that they can be easily reset just by pressing the reset button or flipping a little switch. And I'm just going to show you now what this looks like and kind of how this operates. Alright, so here I have three circuit breakers. Now this one is an older one and this one's actually deactivated. So the idea is that you plug this into a socket, so it plugs in, and then you press the button on there and there it goes. When there's a surge of electricity, well, that thing pops out and the circuit inside is broken. And that's about as much interaction as you probably would have with this thing. This is a more modern one, and you probably see this one more often. Switch goes up, and there you go. It's plugged into exactly the same sort of thing, with a loss of contact there. And when there is a surge of current, it drops down into the off position. And there you go. So this is the inside of it, and you can see it's rather complicated. But we have these contacts here and here, and when there is a surge of current, that flicks back into that place, and we break our connection. Now this is a bit small, so I'm going to show you one which I've broken earlier. Here we go. And this one is much more clear, and this was also a slightly larger circuit breaker. So just put it right side up. Here we go. So here we have it in the off position, and we've got a couple of features in here. Number one, we've got a switch, and number two, we've got this thing here. This is the electromagnet, and that's sort of a critical component of this thing. So we're going to put this into the on position now. There, and you can see that arm has gone up to that contact there. So what is happening now is current is flowing through into here, going around the magnet, the electromagnet, and then up through this arm and through and out the circuit breaker that way. And that's regular or normal operation. Now the current isn't strong enough to activate this electromagnet yet until we get a sudden surge of current, which could damage components, and it could also damage and start fires in your house. So when there's a big current, electromagnet starts to activate, and that pulls the arm down, and like that. And that means that there is now no longer a connection between this arm and that arm, so current stops and everything's fine. Of course, the electromagnet is then going to deactivate because there's no current flowing. And there you go. So these are actually really useful, because if there's still an ongoing surge and you try to push that back up, the electromagnet will just pull it back down again, and you will not be able to keep it up there, and it will keep the circuit protected. Unless, of course, you've got to force it up there and keep it there, but then that would be a very silly thing to do, so I won't do that. Miles better than a fuse, because this thing, okay, it breaks, okay, and then you just go back up to it, turn it back on, and you're good to go again. A fuse, you have to take everything apart, put the fuse wire back in, make sure you get it cut the right length for it, and then probably doing all this in the dark because you've done this at night time and all that kind of thing. This is just much easier. And there you go. That is a circuit breaker. Easy. So that's it. Really nice little device, and very handy, and you can probably find one in your home right now. They are that prolific everywhere. Now you need to write down the procedure for this one and explain how this works. I very rarely see exam questions about it, but you may need to explain certain features of circuit breaker or say exactly why it's there or how it works. I haven't seen a full question like a 3-marker saying this is how it works, but it may come up, so you do need to write it down and know it. And here's the thing, by now you should know what a circuit breaker is and you should understand how it activates. What I want you to do is make sure you go back in the video, pause it when you can, and draw diagrams of circuit breaker. If you draw it, you'll understand it much more easily by literally putting all the parts together and then imagining how it can all come apart. The challenge, of course, discussed the advantages and disadvantages of a circuit breaker, and I think I've given you enough hints throughout the video. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you tell me in the comment section below or on the feedback forums. Alright guys, I will catch you in the next video.